From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome to You Should Know. I'm your host, Evelyn Ledbetter, and today I have Dr. Jeff Gentry and his wife, Cindy, here in the studio with me. Welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, for sure. You both have been such great supporters of KENW over the years in many ways, and I'm fortunate enough, Jeff, that you've helped me on FM Pledge Drive, so a big thank you for that. But during that pledge drive, just through the breaks, we had a chance to start discussing different things in our lives, and you guys had just came back from a trip to Iceland, and the information was so intriguing. I kept waiting for the pledge breaks so that would be over so that we could talk.
Great.
So tell me, first let's just start off with a little bit of your background first.
Right. Well, I teach in the Department of Communication, and a lot of my research has involved geography and communication. My master's was on the levels of assertiveness or shyness throughout the Rocky Mountains. My dissertation was on the Scottish Parliament, so based on my fascination with geography.
Okay.
In second grade, I was drawing maps, so that's kind of what brings me to an interest in travel.
That kind of ties into Sheldon on Big Bang. You know, he always loved the maps.
Sheldon loves maps? Okay, well, now I have more respect for him than I did before.
And Cindy, how about you? Grew up here. I know you didn't grow up here, but I don't know much about your background.
We were both born in Montana, actually, and then ended up in Oklahoma later in life. And then we moved here from Tulsa about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And yeah, I've always had a bit of the wanderlust and have been very fortunate in being able to go to a few places. And Iceland was our latest adventure.
Well, and tell me, I had asked this, was it because you were studying something? Were you going there to do a study? Or which followed which? You did some study there. Was that what took you? Or was it because you wanted to go to Iceland and you found something?
Well, I didn't claim it as a business trip, if that's what you're asking.
No, but I know you like to dig into things like that.
Sure, I am fascinated by world parliaments. I've studied the British Parliament, Scottish Parliament, New Zealand Parliament. Those have all taken me very interesting places. But this was mainly an adventure kind of trip. We're just fascinated by different kinds of places, and Iceland is about as exotic as you can get in the Northern Hemisphere.
Different cultures are just really fascinating to us. We are not very intrigued by going to a lot of very touristy places like Hawaii or, we'd go if we had the chance, but we'd rather visit a very interesting culture.
Something that's unique and
Yes.
isn't so well known.
And where we can learn about different people and different life.
And you're a tourist, but yet you're not in such a tourist place that you're just slammed with everybody else. You're fighting to go and see things, I'm guessing.
That helps.
That helps.
Right.
Well, let's just walk through and I guess I call this, I've heard it called the land of fire and ice. So do you have some facts you want to just give out about Iceland or how?
That is a really apropos description, isn't it?
Just,
The fire is the geothermal energy that comes out of there. The ice is, it's very far north. The entire country is north of Anchorage, Alaska. But the fire is the fascinating thing that they have geothermal energy based on the fact that Iceland is the only place between the European and North American plates that you can see the Atlantic ridge. Everywhere else it's at the bottom of the ocean, which is splitting apart, and there's all this geothermal energy that comes out of it. But in Iceland, it's above the surface.
And you can walk between the plates.
How interesting.
And there you can actually scuba dive between the plates, but we didn't do any scuba diving. But,
so you basically are in two continents at the same time.
Yes.
That's right.
If you straddle that ridge,
yes.
you're there.
So the Earth's mantle comes all the way up to the top there, and that's why they have so much geothermal energy. And we had some nice photographs where you can literally look at the Atlantic ridge above
Is that
ground.
not fascinating?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of theories that Iceland was named because it is so much ice, or maybe possibly it has a warmer culture and they named it there to keep other people away. When you traveled, did they give you ideas on that of how it came about with the name?
It's a debate.
It's
Yeah.
a half and half.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny because Greenland was the next place to be discovered by the Vikings, and so there they really wanted to promote it. Where Iceland, it wasn't so much promoted. But the reason it was called Iceland is that that when you get inland, it is a glacier, and so we were able to snowmobile on one of the larger glaciers there, which was a lot of fun.
So you really, oh, sorry, Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, nobody lives in the interior. It's all of these settlements and people live around the edges of the country, along the coast.
The interior is just tundra?
It's
It's
glacier
glacier.
and tundra and sheep
Inhabitable.
and volcanoes and yeah.
And the population size is of the
That's-
whole country? I mean, and it's an island.
Right.
Yeah.
About 300,000 to 400,000 people. So imagine an area the size of the Texas Panhandle with the population of Greater Lubbock, something
Is
like
about
that.
the size.
Yeah.
Because Albuquerque's about 500,000. Lubbock's close to 300,000.
And
So-
all of these people, these 300,000 people, basically all of them are descended from the Vikings. It's a very insular society. They haven't had people colonizing and coming in from other places. So we went on several different kinds of tours. We like tours because you learn so much
Right.
on tours. And each of our tour guides had a graph where they could show us how they were descended from the Vikings. And very interesting
That's
stuff.
pretty amazing because the country, basically, the 1800s or 800s, right?
Yeah, like
So-
873.
So-
Almost everybody came soon after that. And then were cut off from the rest of Europe.
So they literally. So what is their? I mean, their industry for there.
Well, they have sheep. They have geothermal energy.
Fishing.
Fishing, lots of fishing. They export horses. Their horses were fascinating.
They have
to
their
me.
own breed, a very different breed of horse.
Their horses are descended from the Viking horses. They're very small and very hairy, so they suit the climate well. They're very compact. And one morning when Jeff went for a run with a group, I took a ride on one of the horses, and it was delightful. They have a very distinctive gait called a tolt, it's like a very smooth trot. And you kind of glide along on these horses, and they're just very charming. They do not allow any other horses to be brought into Iceland to even visit or anything.
To keep it pure.
Keep it pure. And they do export quite a number of the horses because people think they're charming.
Sure.
And it was fun when we got off the horses and we took their saddles off, they all rolled on the ground, and just to shake just
like a dog.
just scratching their backs.
After having
They
the saddle
were-
and everything on.
They were it was a whole different experience with a horse.
Yeah.
Would you say that's your favorite part? Was the horse one of your favorite parts of the trip?
That was definitely
That
a
radiant on
highlight
up
for
there?
me. A highlight for
And
me.
then
yeah.
our quest to see the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
Well,
It was a quest.
Because truly, I mean, you're basically at the Arctic. So is the days, you have 24 hours sunlight part of the year and 24-hour darkness part of the year?
Not 24, but it's
really
up there.
close.
Yeah, they are almost up to the Arctic Circle. I think the whole country is just barely below the Arctic Circle. Or they have some islands that go above it.
Yeah. We were there at the end of their winter, so the days and nights were fairly even. If we had gone later in the summer,
Like right now,
yeah,
it's daylight
would
for
have-
about 20 hours a day, I think.
So what was the month? Was it March? when
Yes.
You traveled?
Yeah. And we went at that time, we had people that asked us, why are you going to Iceland in the winter? We wanted to see the Northern Lights. And that's the best time to see them.
And there's plenty of beauty anyway.
Yeah.
there.
But that-
And you asked about the industry. For hundreds of years, Iceland was a very poor country. Subsistence farming, barely making it, subject to famine. They had famines, they had plagues. But it's completely changed since World War. I mean, it was a poor country
Right.
through World War II. But because of the geothermal energy, which they more or less invented and have exported their technology, and the fishing and now tourism, they've transformed from a poor country to a very wealthy country.
That's interesting. And their government, I mean, I know they've went through several transitions, but their government now, is it a republic at this point?
Yes. There were times, of course, they have the world's oldest parliament, the Althing, and it's been around, for more than 1,000 years. But they were subject to foreign domination with the Danes and the Norwegians. So then, since about World War I, they got pretty good independence, and then the Danish king no longer held titular authority after about World War II. But like many European countries, it's more of a left of center society, lots of socialized industries and medicine, yet very wealthy as well.
And they have no defense, right? They do not have a Department of Defense.
They don't have an army.
Right, right.
They
That's what
they have
I'm
a
saying.
Coast Guard, and that's about it. Yeah.
But they're a member of NATO.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just fascinating. And their language is...
They still speak Icelandic, and especially in the more remote towns, they will speak Icelandic. In Reykjavik, the capital, where we spent most of our time, most of the people do speak English
As well as Icelandic.
Icelandic. Our tour guides would say that the kids grow up learning English from the TV, and
school.
and then at school they have it. So people are very well versed in both, but formal things are still conducted in Icelandic. Like the parliament, when we went and visited the parliament, we didn't understand much of it.
Because all of it was in
was-
their
yeah.
Icelandic language.
Right.
Yeah.
And because they were cut off from the rest of the world for almost their entire existence, their language has remained very pure. So the Icelandic sagas that we hear about, which apparently Norway had hundreds of years where they didn't write anything down. And so it's only because of the Icelandic sagas that we know what happened in Norway for a few hundred years. But their language has essentially been unchanged. So they can still read those sagas much more easily than we can read English from 1,000 years ago.
That is, and so can they change I think I read they can't change word. They have to petition to have. They don't change or add words to their Icelandic
And
language.
do
names,
not.
too.
And they are not allowed to use slang of any sort. It's just not
Pure.
they keep it pure. And their names, I found this very interesting. They go by their first names. There are only a few hundred names that are available to name your child. And if you want to name it something else, you have to petition the naming committee to introduce a new name. And most of them are rejected. They might okay a few names a year, but it has to sound Icelandic and it has to be in good taste. And so they go by their first names. They have no last names. They go by their parent and then either son
First
or
name.
daughter afterwards.
Right. So it's the father's name, like Leif Erikson, right? Who came all the way to North America.
Right.
His father was Eric the Red, and so he basically put them in Iceland, and so he's Eric's son, but his sister would not be named Erikson.
She'd be Eric's daughter.
So they have different brothers and sisters have different last names based on if they're a boy or a girl.
And they do not change their name when they get married.
They keep
So
that.
everyone maintains their name. So a family of 4 might all have different last names.
The genealogy on this, I don't know when I just can't imagine.
Yeah.
They
but then
are.
they're probably all related almost in some way. But
Yes, very much. In fact, there is a dating app people have on their phones when they go to a club or a bar and they meet someone. They will hold their phones next to each other and it will tell them how closely related they are.
Oh my.
We're only
So-
fifth cousins, so we're good.
We're okay.
That's pretty interwoven society, isn't it? When you literally have to make sure you're not
Too close.
looking at your second cousin or first cousin.
Yes.
Wow, that is fascinating.
And you can't necessarily tell by the names
Right.
because,
The commonality of the first names.
yes,
Right.
yes.
How fascinating. Do they do extreme genealogy there? I mean, do they have a...
They all know.
Yeah, they just know.
They all can go back to 873. It's
all
like
the way.
we did a tour, the Funky History Tour,
Mm-hmm.
and the gentleman showed us how he went all the way back to Leif Erikson and Eric the Red.
That is amazing. Do you think it makes the society not have as much controversy where they share the same culture and the same belief system and things like that?
There's not a lot of domestic strife in Iceland. Now they have a lot of their wealth has brought in a lot of foreign workers, and there it's a little bit difficult. I hopped on the bus. I enjoy riding buses to kind of get to know the real people.
Right.
And so the bus driver was Spanish, and the other passenger was Italian, and they both assumed that I was a foreign worker too. And I didn't say much, you know, there aren't a lot of American foreign workers there, but they were doing a little bit of ranting about how hard it can be for foreign workers when they don't speak the language. And since all Icelanders are great in English, everybody just speaks English when they're in mixed company. Whereas these two felt that it was hard to assimilate into Icelandic culture because, you know, they're so homogenous besides the foreign workers.
Do they almost, is it unusual for them to marry outside of being another Icelandic person?
We don't know of that. So I don't know if they are starting to mix
Right.
marriage.
I was just
that
curious
way.
if that would be almost frowned on. Like you were saying, the horses were so pure, it's almost like the people themselves being so isolated are somewhat the same.
It's a little hard to know, and there's a great likelihood that the younger generation is going to start to rebel against some of the old standard things in society. In fact, one of our tour guides that we did this food tour with, she called herself Love as her first name, which would not be an Icelandic name.
Okay.
But her name is unpronounceable to to us, so she
So
was just
she
doing
just
us a
landed on
favor,
that.
I think,
Yeah.
since she works with tourists.
Okay.
Yeah, she was a lovely gal, and she's an actress, and so she was about to go to Norway to do a job. So they do come and go a bit, but they, you know, I don't think they generally move away permanently, but it is a mobile society.
What is their religion? Do they have basically one religion?
Yeah, they're all Lutheran, and we visited the Halmsgrimmer Church or Halsgrimmer Church, which is the largest one in the country. A Lutheran church, gorgeous,
Really pretty.
large. All the best views of Reykjavik are from on top of there, and so we got some nice photographs of Reykjavik, looking just like Willy Wonka's, chocolate factory. When at the end of the film, you see them going around. That's a little town in Germany, but here it's just some great views from up there.
Very picturesque
Oh, I bet.
homes. They tend to build up rather than out like we do here so much because we've got land. So very, very picturesque, colorful homes.
What were some of the nature? What all did you do as far as that? I know you said you went on snowmobiles and literally were on the ridge.
Yes.
What all else?
It's rather stark in terms of fauna or flora. There's there are not a lot of animals. In fact, there are, no mosquitoes, no snakes, very few mammals. It's just kind of stark. There are land formations and glaciers and volcanoes and things, but
That's where a lot of
there's-
beauty is.
yeah.
I mean, I went for a run in Reykjavik with the running club, which was really fun and a little bit intimidating because I went out, they have a group run on Saturday, and I went out there and said, okay, we're going either the 9-mile route or the 12-mile route. And I'd only been running about 3 or 4 miles, but I felt, I don't know if it was the oxygen content of being at sea
Your
level.
sea level.
But I was just, and I had no difficulty at all running 9 miles after only running 3 or 4 here. But right in the middle of Reykjavik, there was this gorgeous waterfall. And so I was able to see that and saw beautiful black rabbits along the route. And this is in the middle of town that they have all of these amazing sights. So nature, it was spectacular.
And did you take advantage of some of the sauna pools and things like that?
Yes, in a couple of ways. We did spend one afternoon at the Blue Lagoon, which is a pretty famous,
I have heard of that.
very, very blue water and very pretty. And
Geothermal
it's just
heated pool.
just the right temperature. And you go in and they give you different masks. We did a series of 3 different masks while we were there that you put on and then let rest for a while and wash off, and you just
And it
hang out in there.
doesn't have the nasty sulfur smell like some of our geothermal.
A little, you can smell a little bit
Some,
of that.
but not really,
Not bad.
not
It's not bad.
obnoxious.
Right.
Yeah. And then we also did go to, they called them swimming pools, didn't they? But they were mostly just for people to relax in, and people from town will go to these pools just to relax at the end of the day. And they'll have a membership here, and it'll be, their evening. They just go and
That's
they
what they
soak.
do.
And it's like a pool, but there are various little smaller ones that they just go and relax in. The people there are very open about their bodies. You go into the locker room and it's all out there, and they're just very comfortable.
They're not real self-conscious about themselves at all.
Yeah. I mean, they wear swimming suits in the pools.
Okay,
but,
they do that.
But in the locker rooms, it's
Is that part of what they use for bathing? Do they actually do a lot of their bathing and stuff? Is they use those geothermal or?
you do bathe before and after
Okay.
going into the soaking pools. So I'm sure a lot of people, that's their evening routine, and then when they're done, they wash off, and that's.
But it's the perfect place for teenagers because, whether they're at home or away, they never run out of hot water. So you could take an hour shower and not cost your parents any money because everything's naturally heated that way. And so they are world innovators. It's the greenest country in the world. Almost all of their energy is from hydroelectric or geothermal. And we should mention the snowmobile route where we got in this snow van, and it literally, we drove along the glacier, and the driver could go literally any direction at any time.
So when we were about halfway to the glacier, there was this spot where he would pull off the road and deflate the tires. And these were huge tires that were manufactured for Iceland and for the Antarctic. And he would take air out of them, and then he could go anywhere over the snow, and they would just, the Jeep would just kind of float over the snow.
That's
and
awesome.
then
Up mountains and anywhere.
yeah, down into little lower places and stuff. And then as we came back down and came back into town, then he would stop and air them back up again so he could go on normal roads with them.
That's fascinating. All of this is just, it's kind of interesting. After you told me about this, I actually found out I have family members that are planning to visit later this year. And I thought, who would have ever thought about that? Well, we're winding down on time, but you would still say the horses are your favorite?
The horses, we love a good food tour. one of the first things we like to do when we go to a new place is take a food tour, because you'll experience foods that you wouldn't have before.
Like putrefied shark.
Putrefied shark.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
And Jeff, what was your favorite?
My favorite thing was probably just getting to meet people. The running club was great. The Parliament, we had a lovely tour of the all thing. And gosh, just every minute of every day was
Just a great trip.
It was
Yeah.
a lovely place. And you know, Iceland has only been a tourist destination since about 2010, when their volcano, their unpronounceable volcano, erupted and disrupted air travel through Europe. For some reason, that put Iceland on the map. People started discovering it, and since then, a lot of people have visited.
Well, I really appreciate both of you coming in and sharing the adventure and opening our eyes, or some of mine for sure, of something that I had never even looked at or thought about so much. But thank you guys. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
And for all of you joining us today, thank you. And we will see you next time. Cheers.